So loot explosions, tons of weapons, including ultimate ones with special traits, descendants to farm and level up, each with their own playstyle, mods to alter your setup. There's a lot on offer with the first Descendant, which drops in 2 weeks on the 2nd of July. It's another free-to-play looter to add into your looter rotation, but what's the end game rotation going to be? Is it going to keep you sticking around long enough to actually enjoy that much of the game? Let's take a second look and see, shall we? So, the first Descendant is a game with a lot of striking similarities to Warframe, Destiny, and more of your favourite looters, but mainly Warframe, which isn't a bad thing. If it works, then it works, so you may as well use it. Although the microtransactions are one of the things that might make or break it for a lot of players. But since the last beta, they've changed those a fair bit as well based on feedback. Now, the information about the endgame loop for the first Descendant has been taken from their YouTube dev blog yesterday, and it has been translated, so some names or some of the words of mission types might be a little bit lost in translation. Now, the endgame loop you're talking is hard mode story missions, replayability, invasion missions, special operation missions, and of course the void intercept battles. They're the 4 that we know about, each offering something different to players depending on which you prefer. Now, first up for the endgame, we're going to take a look at the higher difficulty story missions. As you progress your story, you will unlock higher difficulty versions of already completed missions, so if you enjoyed doing that story mission once, then you can just run it again in hard mode. Higher difficulty means better rewards. However, rewards for these hard mode story missions are not tied to any specific mission node. So if you're after a certain item, like a weapon for example, then you could get it from any of these hard mode replayability missions. It's not locked to one particular mission node. Next up, we have the invasion missions. I'm not sure if that's lost in translation, but the invasion missions, if you're familiar with Warframe's Deep Archimedia missions, then you'll understand how these work. Missions with modifiers, more modifiers turned on, means more loot. Players can set difficulty modders such as increasing enemy health or reducing player attack power, and killing enemies in these missions will also score you points, with additional rewards for higher scores. So it has a modifier system, but it also has a points reward system for additional loot. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I was told on stream that Destiny also has a mission type that is based off points scored and the amount of rewards you get. And if that is the case, then you'll know how it works. Then we have the special operation missions, which are heavily focused on combat. Unlike the hard mode story missions or the invasion missions with modifiers, special operation missions focus solely on combat. They mentioned 3 types of these missions in the latest dev blog. There is the excavation or exterminate mission, where you have to kill all enemies within a certain time frame. Again, similar to Warframe's exterminate missions. There is a resource defense mission where you have to protect an objective from enemy attacks within that time limit as well. So a defense mission, again, very similar to Warframe's defense missions, or I guess any game that has a defense mission style, because it's not tied solely to Warframe. Then there is the Crucian Void experiment mission type, where you have to eliminate escaping bombers, those little things that you're seeing on screen, while dealing with other groups of enemies that are trying to interfere with you killing those bombs. Other enemies are bound to be just a distraction, but I'm sure that that distraction is going to get a lot of players killed at higher levels or higher difficulties. So that's the hard mode story missions, that's the invasion missions and the special operation missions. Then we have the 4th one, which is the big one, the missions where you will have to farm high grade resources needed to build your new Descendant parts or those ultimate weapons, legendary weapons. The void intercept battles, which are boss fights that require tactics and strategy in order for you and your team to actually defeat them. Some of these during the beta in hard mode would wipe parties really quickly if you didn't understand the strats, especially if you were just pubbing it with, I guess, random people. Especially the one with the guy hanging from the ceiling. I can't remember what the name of that boss was. I ran that a few times in public, and if I had any hair left on my head, it would have been pulled out after running those missions. Now, each one of these void intercept battles have gigantic bosses with their own weaknesses and of course their own attack patterns as well, and I think they also have enrage timers, so you have got a time limit before you can kill this boss down, and it is just a wipe. So you might have to switch your Descendant or your weapons in order to suit the boss that you're going up against in order to, I guess, burn that fecker down as fast as possible. Now, this is a hero collecting looter shooter after all, like Warframe, so make sure and farm as many Descendants as you can and level them up and mod them out so that you can have, I guess, the best selection possible when going up against some of these Void Intercept bosses. Like I said, this is a free-to-play game coming on the 2nd of July with a lot of striking resemblances to some of our favorite looters right now, which isn't a bad thing. It just means you'll already understand a lot of the systems, and if it's a system that works well in a free looter, then it makes sense to run it. Again, microtransactions will be the big thing with this game, whether it makes it or breaks it for a lot of people. And during the beta, we could definitely see what those microtransactions were kind of targeting, because a lot of females had French maid outfits and schoolgirl outfits, and their skins were top of the recommended at the top of the screen for microtransactions, and you had to scroll down to get any of the ones for the guys. Again, it is out on the 2nd of July, which is just, what, 2 weeks away, and I will be playing a lot of this in order to see how that loop experience is. But let me know in the comment section below what you think of the end game loop, those mission types that I've gone over, or the game in general, and which Descendant that you've been looking at. I've been enjoying Freyna, which is the toxic one, the Siren, if you will. Valby was quite fun to use as well, and Viessa, but also Jabo with his turrets. Have a great day, have a great week, and as always, thanks for watching.
Got immune. I don't know why they grabbed it. They didn't grab it so early. Thank you. Should be able to nuke it from here.
Yeah, the glaze made a huge difference.
That's what I mean.
Leaving us behind when we spent all of this time. I know we have it good. I thought it was me and you. We were true, but something doesn't feel right. No, I don't know if I wanna stay